Oh,
clinical.
Who were clinically dead.
Exactly.
And then coming back to life.
I went to a major hospital in Montreal to team up with a team of surgeons, cardiothoracic surgeons, cardiologists, and so on and so forth. And I discovered a case of a woman who was clinically dead because they were replacing aorta, the big heart rate.
Yeah.
And she was young, but it was blocked. And so she was clinically dead for about 18 minutes. You know, so the blood becomes very cold because you know they want hypothermia to protect your cells in your body. And while she was really dead for 18 minutes, she saw the surgical instruments that were hidden when she entered the room, and she was sleeping anyway when she entered she was wheeled into the room. But all the instruments were hidden, even when she entered the room. But she reported what the surgeon told to the nurses, and so on and so forth. So I took notes of everything. I checked the files of the doctors over there, and there was a perfect match. I checked the instruments, talked to the surgeon, and so on and so forth. And I concluded that. But it was not a discovery. It was only a confirmation of what Raymond Moody had discovered decades, because he first published a book in 1974, I think, or 75, about the afterlife. And he became famous worldwide. But these people, in the cases reported by Moody, people were not clinically dead. They were near death. In my case, I wanted clinical death to make sure that the critics wouldn't say, oh, but she was not really dead.
Right.
In her case, she was dead. I can tell you that. I proved it.
There was a woman, I had a gentleman on the show.
Pam Reynolds.
I had a gentleman on the show a couple of years back.
Okay.
Who wrote a book about a woman who was struck by lightning outside of her.
I don't know this case.
Yeah, his name is Jeffrey Kripal. He's the one who wrote the book.
Oh yeah, he's a scholar.
Yeah,
he's
a religious studies guy.
Yeah. I've read his books.
Yeah, and it was a fascinating story. She was walking into her synagogue and she was holding her umbrella and with her two children, and she got struck by lightning.
Wow.
And she was unconscious for, it was less than 10 minutes. And she explained weeks where she had an experience that lasted weeks, where she was in a garden having conversations with dead relatives and giving her the option to go with them or to go back to her. And she had this out-of-body experience where she saw her body on the ground, saw her kids, saw the doctors in the synagogue rushing out to help her.
Yes.
And she eventually decided to go back to her physical body. And it was the time
didn't fit
because she was only unconscious for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, but you don't have I've had a near-death experience. So the actual perception of time in the other worlds is not at all controlled by the clock. It's not linear time like we have on planet Earth.
And there's many fascinating accounts of these types of experiences, right? But my problem is, like, it's interesting. It seems real. Although it's subjective, you can't measure it, you can't prove it, you can't prove it.
No.
I can understand why some billionaires would want to throw money at this types of research, but the problem is, what do you do with it?
You know, it's to alter the beliefs about the possibility of the afterlife. Templeton, that was his goal.
Sure, but the world we live in, science is funded because we want to figure out how to build this into applications that are going to serve profitable companies so they can sell stuff, right?
Yes.
Or so they can...
Applied science.
Applied science, right? Apply it to industry.
Yes.
And how do you can't really do that with this kind of stuff, can you?
I did.
You can write books.
No. I told you about my, I devised, based on all this research, my own experience, the experience of other people, other research by other researchers. I devised a psychospiritual approach called holosynthesis. This is the applied response, applied science response. So can we talk a bit about this? Okay, a few minutes. So when I did the experiment with my research team about the Carmelites, and after that, near-death experiencers, I studied, to come back to your question, I studied, after the nuns, I studied near-death experiencers who claim to be still in contact with, they don't use the word God, they use the light, or the light.
So after they come back to their physical bodies, they still are somehow connected to that.
Yes. Like the nuns are saying they're connected to
Sure.
God. But the light, God, Buddhists have another term, doesn't matter. So we investigated them using fMRI and EEG, the same experiment. And guess what we found? The same neural networks are activated or deactivated. It's the same. So doesn't matter whether you talk about God, the source, the light, the void, like in Buddhism, or because they don't have a personalized God. In Hinduism, they talk about Brahman. Doesn't matter, because when you look at the brain, it's the same thing, the same circuits, the same brain regions, the same. And so I realized that. And also the brain waves. What happens? When you go back, you for instance, clinical death, if you are recording actual electrical activity in the brain, the frequency falls to 0, the real death, clinical death. No more brain activity, no heart activity, no breathing anymore. This is the definition of clinical death. Whether it lasts for a few minutes or 20 minutes, doesn't matter. It is clinical death, considered neurologically clinical death. So based on this finding, the frequency is 0. And in my experience with the nuns and then after the near-death experiencers, the closest they were to God or the light or the void, in the case of the Buddhist monks, a few Buddhist monks, they were near 0. The frequency was, it was low theta waves. Theta ranges from 4 to 7 hertz. And delta waves, the lowest band frequency, from 0.5 when you're living to 4, 3.5, 4. So what's the trick if you want to expand your consciousness? Because the brain is like, when it functions normally, on average, it is a jail, a neural prison, and you want to escape it. If you want to access reality with an uppercase R, because normally you're programmed biologically for what? Survival, sex, hunger. You're thirsty. You need to move. That's the the biological programmation, information of the normal state.
Evolution.
Presently, yes. But even presently, we can go beyond these limitations during near-death experience. You take psychedelic drugs. Sometimes, depends. Sometimes it turns to nightmare in some people. So I cannot say here to all the viewers, take psychedelic drug. No. In certain case, you don't want to do that.
Right.
If you suffer from psychosis, you suffer from personality disorders, it's risky. You suffer from certain things, don't do that. But you suffer from anxiety, yes. Suffer from depression, yes. It depends of your pattern.
Or if you habitually use this stuff and abuse it, it can have a very negative effect.
Exactly. Oh, yes.
If you enjoy watching our show on Spotify or YouTube and you want to be more involved, I encourage you to please come check out our Patreon community. Not only does our Patreon community get every episode you see on YouTube early, fully uncensored, and ad-free, but we're also doing Patreon exclusive episodes, as well as live Q&As, and you can get your personal questions answered by our guests every single week. For me, being able to collaborate and communicate back and forth with our Patreon community every week has been huge, and this is my way of saying thank you for the cost of a cup of coffee a month. Now back to the show.